traditional four categories, of different personalities. And I just freaked out because I noticed that I am in the very least member category in my class up there on the bulletin board. And I'm going, whoa, maybe I shouldn't even be here. And of course, the only saving grace at that point was that my favorite professor that was actually given this test placed himself in this one quadrant where just a couple of us were. The idea being that we were, very right-brained people compared to the left-brain folks in our class. So the idea is that I think probably we are, made writers way early in our lives. We just kind of bring that to the table no matter what our professions happen to be. And I think Richard probably would agree with me is that, because it's such a solitary thing to sit there and just concentrate and let your mind wander and get into the zone, that it's almost like you just have to do it. This is something that just you have to do. It's kind of born into you.
Now,
I agree with that.
Now, the other question I have to both of you, I mean, since you, Michael, are into the paranormal big time, and Richard, you're getting into the paranormal and believe it now. I mean, how hard is it then, to want to practice law when you start getting into the paranormal and you want to research all this paranormal stuff? I mean, I got a couple people asking this question. That's why I'm asking you guys.
Well, I want to hear Richard's answer first before I give mine.
Well, I mean, for me, I just the research was fun. And again, I read Dr. Tucker's book, Tom Schroeder's book, and then the University of Virginia and other locations have a lot of studies of these children who claim past life. In fact, they do near-death experiences and other paranormal phenomena. They study those as well. And for me, that was just interesting reading. And it's different than the legal reading because when you're reading legal all day, it's kind of nice to get something else when you come home that you're interested in. And I would say it's just a nice change, from reading the legal stuff during the day. And then, I came home and it was like, oh, wow, I want to learn about this case, about this past life case in India or in the U.S. or Lebanon.
Yeah.
In fact, to the extent that I have a blog online where I write about what I read.
Oh, wow. Hey, well, tell the people that. Come on, let them know.
Oh, definitely. My blog, I go to www.richardsieg.com, and on that page, you'll see, click here to go to Richard's blog, and I've got I started this, it's been a little while now. I've got about 21 or 22, I think, articles up now.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that would be fascinating to read because, again, it's just the paranormal as interpreted by a professional attorney who has the ability to convince judges that their side of the equation is the best one to pick. So that's quite a combination. For myself, Richard, I had always been interested in the paranormal. Flying saucers probably was my first thing as a kid. Well before I even went to law school. I've been practicing law for over 30 years now, but I didn't go to law school till I was 32. I didn't graduate till I was 35 years old later in life. And then funny enough is what I ended up doing is helping various paranormal and UFO organizations with their legal work, which was fascinating for me because I finally got a chance to meld some of my, avocation with my profession, and that's been very challenging but rewarding for me as well.
That sounds like a perfect combination.
Yeah,
in that you got to advocate for what you were really interested in.
Well, hey, Richard.
Well, yeah.
But Richard,
It's like there is always a reason why people go to law school, and they always ask you that, in your interview, before you apply. Why do you want to be a lawyer? And of course, I don't think I mentioned the fact that I was into the paranormal at the time, but it's been very rewarding to work for organizations, for instance, like Peter Davenport and the National UFO Reporting Center.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Dr. Richard Haynes with NARCAP, who is the professional pilot reporting organization for UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, and various organizations like that. I was even a consultant to MUFON all the way back in '95, I think, and before that, I was a member of APRO in college in '74. So, it's these kind of things you just end up doing, and you kind of wind into wrap around your profession as you go.
Right.
Well, I got to ask you both a question now that you're in the paranormal, right? How does the judges, the prosecutor, for example, if you're in a case, or the opposite, attorney, representing their client, do they ever throw that up to you? Like, well, gee, this attorney is really into the paranormal. Do you trust him? I mean, have you ever had that thrown up on you?
Well, I'll answer on that one first. You know what? Attorneys are notorious for sometimes, being jabbing clients and in their cross examinations and opposing, parties. But I tell you what, most of us stay away from intimidating or even trying to go after opposing counsel because we know how vulnerable we all are. And so if any one of the opposing counsels that I've ever run across wanted to throw a jab like that at me, they know how vulnerable they are as well with their own personalities.
Okay, I was just curious. How about you, Richard? Have you had anybody ever, since you come out with a book, kind of throw a jab back at you, like, that, hey, how can you trust this attorney because he's into the paranormal, the strange, the weird?
I have not had that. I left I was practicing at a big law firm until about 2014, and so I wrote the book after I left the law firm. So now I'm in-house counsel, and I don't have those kinds of situations arise. So in fact, other attorneys who are my peers, not necessarily, well, some at where I work, but also other locations have read the book and have given me good comments on it. So far it's been I have not had any of those barbs thrown at me.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap the show up here in the next 5 minutes. Again, why don't you tell people where they can find the book? Again, besides Amazon, can they order it from your website direct, and can they go into bookstores and order it?
They can, right now it is available at iBookstore, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon, and you can get to it through my website, but you'll order it from one of those websites. It is not available in the store to carry out yet, but hopefully I'll get it to that point. But certainly please come check out my website at www.richardsieg.com. Check out the blog, learn more about it. You can read about the inspiration for the book, and I think you'll just it'll be eye-opening. If you come in with an open mind, it'll definitely be eye-opening.
How many page read is it?
It's 390. It's 80,000 words.
Yeah,
That's
so
a big novel.
Yeah, it sounds like more than a 2-day read for an average person. Yeah,
I mean it is. it's more than your 2-day read. I think it's they recommend 70 to 100,000 words, but they prefer it to be 80,000 or above. And this one's about, I'd say, 82,000 words, somewhere in there.
Oh, wow. Now, hey, Michael, do you have any, we got about 3 minutes left. Any final questions you want to ask Michael before we sign off here?
Well, yeah, I would, Richard. If you can tell us, what will your reader at the end of your book come away with? Do you have basically feedback from folks on what they are taking away from the story?
I've had multiple people come to me and say that it was an eye-opening experience, and it has made them reconsider some things related to reincarnation. Some of these, what we've been talking about today, that it's really opened their eyes. Even though I wrote it, I mean, it's a fiction, but it is based on what I've read and using the principles to study these children, and I mean, it's happened on multiple occasions where people have said it's really made them rethink what end of life might actually mean. It might not be end of life.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I just got to commend you on this entire project, and I can't wait to find the second book and maybe even the series on the third book.
Sounds good. That'll be great.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, the second book will. I've got it ready. I've just got to get it in book form, but I think you might like it. It's not. It's set elsewhere. It's set in. I have it in Michigan and in Wyoming.
Nice.
Well, it gives a lot of people, when you think about reincarnation, a lot of people go like, what, their whole life goes by so fast. And then you get a certain age and you think like, what have I really accomplished in life? You look at a photograph of yourself and you're old, and then you just sit there and think, what has all this been for? And then if there's actually any hope that you can come back and correct, well, some of the mistakes you made in life, and maybe you hook back up with your wife or family, and maybe go on more than once or twice, because reincarnations, talking to the one psychiatrist and the one hypnotist I had on the show, the one hypnotist said he had one person that he did a lot of research on. It was like 12, 13 different past lives. And it just makes you think how many more times you can be reincarnated and start over fresh again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I've heard of people kind of approaching the end of their life and reading the book, and it does give some hope there that was refreshing, and that's nice to hear. That's a nice story to hear about your book.
Well, it also gives, I think, people some peace, because I mean, when you get to a certain age, you like I said, you start wondering like, what has my life been? What have I accomplished? And is this all of my life? And when I die, is it over? Like when a computer hard drive crashes, it's over with. I mean, it gives, some thought, that maybe it goes on. Your life continues in one form to another form. I mean, again, like in Turkey and India and all these places where they believe in reincarnation, it's just so many cases that you can't explain it. But again, mention the name of your book again, and it's available on Amazon. And after that, I'll say goodnight to you.
Okay, well, the Love After Life is the book, and available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, iBookstore, and it's just been a real pleasure to discuss the book and also the paranormal with you tonight.
Well, thank you for coming on Night Dreams.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And Michael,
good job, Richard. Yeah.
Michael, hang on, and good night, Richard.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
So why don't you tell everybody what's happening on Wednesday on the UFO I team? Tell a little bit